Hey guys, what's up? It's Quantive here and welcome to this new next guide. This is going to be a mage tanking guide. Now guys, this video is actually going to be a trio video with the footage, but this pretty much just applies to whenever you want to actually go to next and you want to do your mage tanking. Anyway guys, we'll jump straight into it. Alrighty guys, just to start off with some basics about Nex. Her combat level is 220. She has over 200,000 life points with a max hit of over 6,000, and her weakness is nothing. And also her combat styles that she uses are magic, melee and range. Also guys, when you're fighting Nex, you do have the 4 minions, which are Fumus, Umbra, Cura and Glacies. So they are on the Smoke, Shadow, Blood and Ice phases. They all have a combat level of 165, and your teammates will have to kill these throughout the fight. Alright, and for our skill level recommendations, I definitely do recommend having at least 75 plus magic and defense, 80 to 85 plus life points, 75 plus prayer, and 68 plus summoning for that war tortoise. That's really good. And definitely guys, also some extra useful skill levels that I do recommend having are 88 plus herb lore for those extreme potions. They definitely do help a lot. And also if you're able to get your overloads either boosted or you have 96 herb lore, definitely recommend having those. Also another good stat is 95 plus prayer for your torment. Also 90 plus magic and defense definitely does help a lot, and also 96 plus summoning for your uni and yaks, as they both do very much help your kills. Now guys, onto the gear. Now this is the best choices to into the lower tier choices. Also guys, this is definitely interchangeable. If you don't have all of them, you can swap them up, change them up, do whatever you really want to. These are just what I recommend actually using. So for helm, body and legs, definitely use some superior Sea Singer, and also Tectonic and Virtus is also very good, as I'll put them on the same sort of level. Moving down into Gano or Subjugation, I don't recommend using Subjugation, as you probably do get hit quite a lot. When I did start tanking, I used Ganodermic, which is quite easy and it did work out quite well, so definitely recommend at least having your Ganodermic. For your main hand, have a Seismic Wand, Virtus Wand, or moving down to a Treachery or Aram's Wand. For your offhand, definitely do recommend getting an Arcane Spirit Shield or a Farseer. They're both very good. Having a Blessed Spirit Shield or a Water Subjugation are also an option. For your gloves, I definitely do recommend getting some Static or Virtus gloves. Moving down is your Spellcaster or your Ganodermic gloves, which are definitely perfectly fine as they're only 10k or so. As for boots, definitely get some Rage Fires, Virtus or Gano boots. As for your amulet, I definitely do recommend getting an Arcane Stream or a Sarah Hiss or a Fury. They're all very good. Also another option I have not put on this, as it's not one of the things that I would definitely use for tanking. It's more of a DPS sort of thing, but you can also use the Amulet of Zealots. That's quite good also. As for your ring, you definitely do get your Ring of Vigor. It is absolutely awesome. It saves 10% adrenaline on ult, which is absolutely amazing when doing tanking. Also moving down to your Onyx Eyes, 6H Zerk or a Sears Ring, they're all very good. As for cape, definitely use your comp cape, max cape if you've got that. Moving down into a mage cape or a skill cape, they're both very acceptable. As for auras and scrimshaws, they're all interchangeable, but I'll put some options on screen right for you now. Definitely use Penance, Reverence, Runic Accuracy or Invigorate, all very good auras. And for scrimshaw, I definitely do recommend using a Sign of Life or Scrimshaw of Elements, both very good. Now guys, as for getting to Nex, I definitely think that if you're trying out your tanking, you should probably already know the basics of Nex and have done some sort of DPSing. I don't recommend going straight into tanking, so if you don't really know what you're doing, I do recommend looking at my other guide, which is for melee DPS, and I definitely do think I'll be bringing out a mage DPS quite soon, so look out for that. Anyway guys, these are on basics on screen, so if you need to, just pause the video right now and have a read, and also I'll put a quick annotation link over to my other video, which has got a bit more information on about how to actually get to Nex and all the basic things that you do need to do to actually find your way to the ancient prison. Definitely guys, if you have not any idea about all these sort of things, definitely do click on the annotation link that'll be on screen right now. Now guys, onto your inventory and familiar and action bar, that sort of thing. Definitely once you do have yourself at the ancient prison next bank, this is the inventory that I do recommend. Definitely guys, you can swap and change all of this sort of thing to suit yourself, but this is actually what I use when I do go to tank. Definitely have your overloads and prayer renewal, also your adrenaline potion. a couple of super restore flasks, and also prayer potions. Brew flasks are also quite good, and definitely do recommend to have your unicorn pouches for your healing, your tally tab, and also all the runes you do need for your specific spells and also your debuff spells. Also put a couple of bits of food in there just in case. Also for your familiar, just chuck in a whole load of food, a couple of prayer potions, and also that unicorn pouch. Now for your action bar, definitely guys, if you need to do it, pause the video right now and just copy down that straight away. That is definitely the one that I do recommend using, and is probably the best one that I've seen. I've seen lots of videos and lots of people do tanking on streams and that sort of thing, but this is the one that I've felt that really does work for me, and is sort of the easiest one to use when you're actually learning. Okay guys, now onto the boss fight. This guide is going to assume that you do have some prior knowledge of nex and all the phases. So guys, definitely if you do need some more information, definitely do check out my melee DPS guide that I do have already posted on my YouTube channel. Now guys, this is just going to be going through the basics of what you need to do to actually tank nex. There's some extra tips at the end that I'm going to put, and also making sure that you can swap out some of these tactics for more DPS related abilities and that sort of thing once you do have all the tactics down yourself. Anyway guys, let's get into this. Now guys, the first thing you do want to be doing is running to this spot shown on screen right now and quickly tag this minion shown on screen, and then use both of those defensive abilities, Resonance and also Preparation, which actually increases your adrenaline to start off the fight, and then quickly use your ranged ability Escape and then move into position. That's shown on screen right now. Guys, it's pretty much just one step down the stairs. Now next, just turn on your quick prayers and click on next as fast as possible to make sure she doesn't run back. Move back into the position on screen now and use your anticipation ability. Now at this point guys, there is a range of things you want to be doing. You want to be building up with basic abilities, also putting on the debuff vulnerability onto nex, and then also making sure that you do have over 50% adrenaline, so that once the nex actually does say there is no escape, you're able to definitely shoot off a wild magic and also try and put one of the bleeding abilities onto her, which is really good. As you can see right now on screen, that's what I'll be doing. The debuff goes onto her, XP comes down, and also I click on the ability to try and get that off as well. At this point guys, pretty much next will just walk back straight up to you, making sure she does. If she doesn't, make sure you do voke her off your teammates, just still using your abilities, all your basics and that sort of thing, and making sure you do use anticipate the second time, the second that it does come up, to ensure that you do not get pulled. I'll be putting something at the end of this video to show what to do if you do actually get pulled. At this point it's pretty much just basic stuff, using all your defensive abilities as shown on screen right now. Now guys, the next thing to be looking out for is the minion at the top of the screen has just died, so that means you want to be tagging as quick as possible. The best way to do this is actually to use the bleeding ability from your magic spells and try and get that onto her as quick as possible to move her into the next phase as seen. Now guys, the next thing you have to do is pretty much just swap to your range prayer and dodge the black shadows and do as much damage as you possibly can. This is quite easy, just make sure you do step off those, as they can hit you for quite a lot of damage. Now guys, in this section of the clip right here, you'll see that I do actually turn my prey off and use the resonance ability to block the damage and actually heal up from one of those hits. This is a really good method to actually do heal, and I'll be showing you this slowly at the end of this video. Now guys, this is moving on to the next phase of this section of the video. Pretty much just what you want to be doing is luring nex around, as well as trying to get off those curse prayers again, making sure you do use your vulnerability and your enfeeble to try and take down nex and put those debuffs on her. It makes this next phase a whole lot easier, and definitely make sure you're doing this if you're looking to do any duos or that sort of thing. Now guys, you're pretty much onto the dreaded blood phase. Now this phase as a tank is very easy. All you have to do is make sure you're standing up onto melee distance, turn on that magic prayer again, and make sure you tag her first. If you do not actually tag her, don't worry, you can just use your basic abilities and she'll turn back around to you. Don't use your voke, as that'll pretty much just waste it. Now next, what you need to do is just make sure you're doing a little bit of damage, as much as you possibly can, and when she turns off onto one of your teammates, voke her back onto you. All you have to do now is pretty much just use your basics until she calls the next minion, and then start using your defensives again. It's really quite easy. Now guys, we're moving on to the ice phase, so notice up the top with my teammates that are taking down the minion. Make sure you keep an eye on that, and definitely do tag as quick as you possibly can, and quickly use anticipate. Now guys, making sure, I'll explain this later in the video, but there's two methods. You do have to be making sure you are on 100% adrenaline at this point, as you'll need to be using your barricade ability. Making sure once you've done that, you just switch back on your prayers as soon as possible and start using your basics and your adrenaline potion to build your adrenaline right back up again. Making sure you get up to 100% as soon as possible. Now run away from Nex when she does use contain, and make sure you do Voco back onto you to ensure that she's not on your teammates. Now she'll most likely prison you a second time, but don't worry, I'll be going through this in depth later in the video, so make sure you stay tuned for that. It's quite easy once you have got the hang of the exact things to do. Now guys, next moving on to the last phase, so you just need to make sure you do tag her, turn your prayers back on again, and make sure you get into a position where you're in melee distance and that your meleeers can also get into melee distance. Your mages don't really need to worry about this, but sometimes they would like to use their sunshine ability to do some extra damage, so they'll also stand in their melee distance. This phase is pretty much like the first one, where you just need to be spamming your defensive abilities and doing as much DPS as you possibly can, making sure that you do actually get those debuffs like your vulnerability and feeble on, and you can also use your ultimate abilities in this phase as well if you've got to the point of 100% adrenaline. Now guys, this phase is very easy, making sure that you do actually get all those defensive off, and making sure that you do drop your prayer if you do need to get a heal off. This is a really good ability. Making sure you do make the most of your resonance, and taking off that prayer is the best way to do so. Making sure guys that you do actually use all your basics and get to 100% as quick as possible. As you can see in this video, that I do try and get to 100 and use all my thresholds and that sort of thing to take down Nex as fast as possible, because you don't want to be sitting there and tanking for that long. Anyway guys, that's pretty much how you do kill Nex. I'll be going into some specific stuff right now. Let's go. Okay guys, we're going to go over some quick tips now for your tanking, making it a lot easier, more efficient, and definitely use a lot less food. Definitely guys, it'll take you quite a while to actually be able to do no food kills like you did see in that clip just before. It does take a lot of practice, and definitely some of these tips will be able to help you out. Make sure you listen closely, and here we go. So first up, for our quick tips, we do have what happens when you do get pulled with Nex. All she'll do is pull you in and turn off your prayers. The best thing to do guys is make sure you don't have your freedom ability used yet, and just click on that as fast as you possibly can, and then jump straight out of melee distance as seen on screen right now. All you have to do then is turn back on your prayer and continue fighting her. Now guys, next up is how to use your resonance to heal off the black shadows. A lot of stuff goes on in this clip, so make sure you do watch nice and closely. So you turn off your range, making sure that you use your resonance before the black shadow is shot out. After you do take the damage from it, it may not be the first one, turn your prey back on and use your preparation ability, making sure that you get that on straight away, as it is quite good to actually refresh your resonance ability. Next up is how to lure, and also making sure you get your debuffs on at the same time. So do what I do and pretty much just run and click, making sure that you're in a range of Nex and that you're also using your defensive abilities at the same time. So click on those debuffs, make sure you get them on as you run over. This saves a lot of time and a lot of screwing around that you can be doing while trying to stand over there, and you're wasting a lot of time that your DPSs do have to wait over at that minion. As you can see on screen right now, my DPSs are finished, so I do want to be getting there as fast as possible. Now guys, this next tip is for blood phase healing, making sure you do get the timing of this right, as the Reavers do attack you at the same time, so doing that is very hard. But anyway guys, making sure you do get a melee hit from Nex, making sure that you do Voco off, and then quickly turn off your prayers and do a resonance to block her damage and to also heal it. It's really good, and you can definitely get some nice 2k heals off, as you can see on screen right now. This really does help, as this phase is one that you want to be at nearly full HP to start off the next one. Next up guys, we have the all important ice phase. So guys, make sure you're looking nice and closely at exactly what I'm doing. Okay guys, so to start off with, making sure you are looking at the minion's health, and first thing you need to do is make sure you use that bleed ability as seen on screen right now, and then move into using your defensive anticipate to make sure she doesn't actually stun you. Now guys, when she does say infuse me with the power of ice, making sure this means that she's going to prison you next time. This means you do have to use your barricade ability to start off with. So as seen on screen right now, she's going to put me into a prison, and what I'm going to do is quickly put in on the barricade ability and drink a sip of my adrenaline potion, and also fill up my prayer and HP or whatever else I need to do. The next thing I need to do is turn my prayer back on as seen on screen, and then quickly start attacking her. The best thing to do in this situation, if you do have meleeers, is to move into melee distance as quick as you possibly can, or let the Nex actually put you into the right spot. This will allow your actual DPSs to use their thresholds without them being interrupted. So the next thing you need to be doing is making sure that you're building your adrenaline as fast as possible. And thirdly, you need to be taking into stock how much HP you do actually have left. So in this example, you can see that my health is pretty low and my teammates have just finished off that phase to move on to the next one. So they're all running to the minion, and that means that I'm going to be taking another prison pretty much all by myself. So my anticipate ability is up, so I've used that right there on screen, as you can see right now. So guys, at this point of the kill, I'm not actually high enough HP to actually be able to use my rejuvenate ability safely, so I quickly swap over to my defensive tab and make sure I'm anticipated, and then I use my immortality ability. Now this ability, make sure that you use it properly and only when you're at low HP, as it is very temperamental. And guys, anyway, after that does happen, it'll pretty much just save you and restore some of your HP. The best thing to do after this, if you do have to use immortality, is to use your resonance and preparation straight afterwards to try and get a hit off next. That is the best way to heal. Now guys, here's a secondary clip with the same situation. She has just called the actual other minion, and container has also been called. So I voco back onto me and I make sure that I'm on 100% adrenaline, as I do want to be using an ultimate ability. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is using my rejuvenate ability as I'm over half HP. I do recommend using this, so make sure you've anticipated as well, just in case that you do not actually heal the amount that you need to. Now making sure after this, there's two things you need to do, is use your resonance ability to actually get another heal off next, and also turn your prayer back on as quick as possible. This is actually probably my favorite way to actually get through this. As you can see right there, I did just heal 3000 from her first initial hit, which is pretty damn good. So guys, on to the last tip that I do have, guys. If she does actually get stuck at this point when you're trying to evoke her back onto your team, you do not want to be standing this far away with Amelia, so you can definitely use this lure that I'm showing on screen right now. Just step down onto the steps to pull her in, and then walk into melee distance to ensure that your teammates can stand on the other side and use their thresholds without being interrupted. Okay guys, I did also want to be adding in this bit of a text guide. This will be in the description as well, but I'm definitely going to be narrating this for you at the moment. So on screen right now we do have the first phase, which is smoke. So all you have to do on this phase is add debuffs, the vulnerability one. You need to spam your anticipate, resonance, and also your preparation. You need to build adrenaline with your basic abilities. You need to attempt to tag next with the wild magic and combust when she does state there is no escape. And tagging next with the combust is an easy way to move next to the next phase. Now for phase 2, shadow phase, all you have to do is spam your anticipate, resonance, and preparation again. Dodge the shadows with your protect from range activated. You need to drop your prayer with the resonance to heal. You also need to use some wild magic and combust and your basics to do a little bit of DPS, and to end the phase definitely do add all your debuffs. For your third phase, which is the blood, drag next to the east towards your DPS partners. You must have 100% adrenaline at the end of the phase, make sure you remember that. Tag next as soon as possible to stop the DPSs needing to heal after the minion, and don't use your voke. Be ready to voke off the DPSs or escape if needed. Some of the tips, the last thing she does is a siphon, that means she's going to prison you, and if the last thing she does is a sacrifice, that means it's going to be a contain. Fourth phase being the ice phase, definitely if it's a prison, use your anticipate, and when she does say the infuse me with ice, and then use barricade if you're over 5000 HP, or rejuvenate or immortality if you're under 5k. Make sure you do have high prayer points in this phase. Also, if contain, run and then provoke her back onto you, and then after prisons contain, build your adrenaline and use potions and food as needed. Definitely don't risk the death. More tips for the actual ice phase is, if there's a second prison, definitely spam back up to 100% while your team is taking out glacies, and definitely use your adrenaline pots as needed. After infuse, anticipate and either Cade or immortality, whichever you didn't use the last time. Also rejuvenate's very good for this. Use your resonance to your advantage, don't waste food if needed. Just after a prison you can't attack or move for a short time, so check your adrenaline and prayer at this stage. If possible, only eat after using an ult, which will definitely save you a lot of adrenaline. And lastly, fifth phase Zaros, definitely tag next as soon as possible to switch the phase. You don't want to be taking any extra prisons. To start off this phase, add all your debuffs, it definitely speeds this up a lot. Get to 100% adrenaline and use your ultimates such as rejuvenate, barricade, or immortality if needed. Otherwise, definitely do feel free to use your DPS ults such as sunshine, meta, and tsunami. Otherwise, build back up with your defensives, and also definitely do use your DPSing magic abilities. And there we have it, guys. Hopefully you've learnt how to tank next efficiently, and definitely guys, if you do have any further questions and that sort of thing, definitely do comment down below and I'll do my best to help you out. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. Please do like, comment, subscribe, all that sort of good stuff. I definitely do want to be seeing a couple of likes on this video, as it has taken me a fair amount of time to make. I'll be making a Mage DPS guide sometime in the near future, so make sure you do look out for that. Anyway guys, as always, later.